Hello, everybody, again. Welcome to the Inside Scoop, and we're saying hello to Oscar.
Hello for the eighth time.
It happens,
Hello.
Basically, we're putting out thoughts out in the world, and I thought that this would actually be a very interesting topic to pick our brains on a bit. The idea of putting things out there and just in general, posting stuff online, especially when we're in this day and age where everything's connected. Our employers can see that. I don't know, government officials, technically, if they wanted to, even in court, they could technically look you up and see if there's any evidence that they could find on you, and I'm pretty sure this is happening, and this is maybe it could be even called surveillance in some ways. But I just wanted to hear your opinion on what do you think an actual good public persona should look like, and how may it help you to maybe get employed or get
Right.
connections, or have you ever thought about this at all?
I've definitely thought about it. It was in one of our workshops that we were given that was like centered around GitHub, which we use for purposes in computing. But there was a section on what employers see and what employers look at. And it was about like having about your online presence, like if they search your name, what comes up. So like your social media comes up and stuff like that. Although with social media, like you can limit how much people can see if they're not in your friends list.
Yeah.
Although you can, like, I think quite easily get invited, like get accepted to be somebody's friend if they don't know you. They're like, oh, maybe I just met this person, right? Like, I don't know. But I suppose if it shouldn't be that big of a deal, like you really would have to put something very controversial on your social media, I think, for to have it affect, like for it to have a negative effect on if you get employed or not. I guess the trouble is if the employer looks at your social media or every like potential employee's social media, they might choose the person they like best on that. I guess.
Just based on their profiles, or
yeah. I mean, if you're applying for a job at the supermarket, like no, I don't think anybody's going to look at your social media.
yeah,
But
most
for
likely,
for the kind of thing we're doing, especially in computing, software jobs and stuff, like the people who are employing us are likely to be at their desk, at their computer all the time. So for them to just like search us up,
yeah, it's probably the first thing they do. And I think I remember one expert, or even from some sort of like a workshop, and saying that the applications, every application, well, depends on how many applicants there are. They usually spend not so long reading everything, but if you have a portfolio page, it's way easier for them to just like hop on your page and like quickly have a scroll through. So I think as much as this saying stands, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, they say that, and sort of makes sense. But at the same time, you are your own book. Like you are writing your own book, and you choose what to put on its cover.
Yep. Yeah.
So, especially when it comes to social media like that, I feel like it is a very powerful tool, but it's also a good thing that companies may be looking at your profiles and everything. Like if the company decides to not hire you just because of what you put out there, well, it's either one of two things, It's either you put out some very, I don't know, disturbing things, or just in general, all you put out is partying. Because especially on Facebook, around friends in here in the UK, I just see everyone just put out like tons and tons of like pictures of themselves drunk and everything. It's just something I don't really agree with, but cultural things, I guess, whatever.
Yeah, but I think it's more accepted here, even by employers. I think it's just an accepted as a cultural thing here.
Yeah. So here, it's a bit different. Like I've known people, and I've even had an opportunity to go out to like a Christmas dinner my employer, and then he's like, do you want a pint, whatever. Like, I don't drink, but yeah, they just after that, like, oh, you want to go to the pub or whatever. And it's just a bit different, you know. People are different. So yeah, I guess these are cultural. But when you think about everything in general terms, just like, so the first one is either you put out something that is really hurting your public image, or second is that maybe you're actually not a good fit for the company. So why would you want to go through all the application process, getting interviewed and everything, if the company like just already knows that you're not really the best fit, you know? Well, this probably doesn't apply to like most of the jobs. You know, maybe lawyers, maybe programmers, they probably don't really care about what's out there in the social, you know, social medias. They care about your coding tests. They care about your performance.
Right.
But I guess something that is more social, like, you know, well, let's put it in the simplest terms. YouTubers and Twitch streamers and any sort of public personas, when they get sponsorships.
Yeah.
Well, the company is gonna choose the influencer, like so-called influencer, according to what the influencer's past work is, or you know, if that influencer is, for example, a beauty and a makeup artist and is a female, she's probably less likely to receive a sponsorship from, I don't know, some sort of like a firearm company, you know, because it just makes sense. So in order to not waste everyone's time, it's good to just have some sort of a persona of yourself out there saying, this is me, this is who I am. And I don't know.
I think influencers probably work specifically on making a certain image. So like for them, they're like completely aware of this. But I suppose what number of people are aware, and like there's going to be a number of people that aren't aware, but the type of job that they're trying to get will mean that their employer is looking at their online presence. Which I think is going to be quite small, actually, compared to the other two areas of, the people that are going for jobs where their employer is going to be looking at their online presence and they're aware of it, and the third one where they're not aware of it and the employer is not looking at it. So where it's problematic, I guess it's quite a small area. If you get what I'm meaning.
Yeah, sort of.
If you think about it as like a Venn diagram.
Yeah, of what crosses over with there's for sure, there for sure are areas where, first of all, neither the employer cares much about social media nor the employee cares about the media, and you know, maybe the person's not even on social media. So but do you think there's an issue, for example, when there are profiles with the same name, and then your employer may look you up, and then when they look you up, they find someone by your name, and even maybe by the same description, you know, sort of like same city, same whatever. Like, you can for sure have people with the same name, especially in the English-speaking world, and with simpler names. And they would think that this is your profile, and maybe even if you applied by using like a paper application, when they ask you to not put pictures on the applications just to like eliminate any sort of biases. So if you handed in your application and they looked you up and they're like, oh, that is interesting. Do you think there have been any sort of occurrences where this might have happened and someone might have not gotten a job? Like, I'm thinking for sure
it's happened.
Yeah. Something like that for sure must have happened, you know?
Yeah, that's I'm not in the circle of a lot of employers, I guess. So
yeah. I mean, we're just speculating, you know. Like, we can't really ask some sort of an employer or an HR firm, just like, so how many people did you not hire because of, you know, Googling them or whatever? Like, this is probably not really publicly accessible data, but it's interesting to think about it, you know.
Well, it's I think it's a very useful tool for employers to kind of weed out the extremes when they can. But I think what's going to happen or what is happening, maybe it's not going to go any much farther, maybe there's a limit to it, is there's going to be, I mean, I think we're pretty much, well, a lot of people are aware that this is happening, so they care about it. But as you said, a lot of people have on their profiles posting things like parties and stuff that maybe they wouldn't want their employers to see. But I think as the awareness of this grows, people are going to be more cognizant of what they put on their social media. So actually, it's not going to be as useful for employers anymore. And like, when is it going to be the point where they realize that people are kind of just engineering an image of themselves on social media? I don't know when that's going to be, but eventually I guess that's going to be a thing. It's like, and I want to make a comparison to something else I've been thinking about, which is kind of similar, and it's vouchers online. Right. So when people shop online, before we had all these things like Honey and stuff that just suggest vouchers for you, which is just a great idea. Like, some people would search up vouchers, most people wouldn't bother probably. But I think what's going to happen is it's thanks to the online voucher things for online sellers, it's not going to be as beneficial to have like special offers with vouchers anymore, because everybody's just going to know them.
That's a good
and I think in a way that's good. I don't remember why I thought it was, but I think but it's just going to render vouchers and special offers with vouchers kind of like with promo codes kind of invalid, or not invalid, kind of useless. In a lot of cases, because you get promo codes like from influencers to kind of identify that they influence the person, so many people to buy the product, so they get like so they get a share of whatever the sale. But when you just go straight to the product page somehow and you just use something like Honey, you can you get a discount anyway, even if it didn't come from any influencer. So then everybody ends up getting a discount on the website just because they have Honey, and it's a growing trend, I think, of people using that. So eventually, eventually how big the discounts are is probably going to go down over time, because everybody's going to be getting the discounts. So it's going to be less profitable, I guess.
That makes sense.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm not like an economist or that, just some stupid speculation. But yeah, that's similar to what I was saying about people being aware of employers looking at their social media if they can, because I know you can like kind of block who can, but
but so for example, what if the person still wants to post their party pictures and share them with friends? Should they create a different profile on Facebook? Should they block everything and then maybe use LinkedIn for their professional work? Or like, I was thinking about this and then can't really find an answer, like a definite answer, but I think it's just a nice conversation about that.
Yeah, I guess it's just up to people's judgment. Like, how much do you care about posting your I don't know, and party pics on Facebook versus how much you want to get a job? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a choice.
But again, I think you can block these things, right? Like, you can say only friends.
Yeah, for sure.
You can see this. So yeah,
I think it's like a business card. I think, for example, at least the way I'm trying to treat social media is it's basically my business card. It's something that I could give to anyone at any moment for them to know more about who I am and where to find information to contact. And I feel like it's just basically rendering the business cards useless, but they're still being passed around. But
yeah, I wouldn't say they're useless. No, maybe they're a reminder of your business. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, business cards existed and probably will still exist for quite a while because they're the traditional means of doing things. But as we've talked about books, for example, the traditional means is usually sticks around because there's still people who are into it. But I think
well, it's the kind of thing that if nobody had them, it wouldn't make a difference. Like if some people have a business card, they're at a slight advantage. So then everybody's got to have a business card, so nobody has an advantage, I guess.
yeah.
This is something pointed out in another podcast that I listened to.
Hop on the loop, stay on the
train. Like if no country had an army, then no country would have to have an army. But since countries have army, every country has to have an army. So it's that kind of thing. Yeah,
it's like you got to keep up, man. And whatever that is, you probably have to keep up. And I don't know. I think personal branding is like, honestly, it's very important to me personally. And it's mostly because I think I strive and like I want to, reach that goal where you're sort of, I don't like that word influencer. It's many people don't, but like it's not that. It's just that you aren't afraid of what you post online, because that, well, first of all, you would never come up with a stupid enough idea to post online.
Right.
Because this is basically conditioning too. This is like you condition yourself to figure out what is the things you should be posting,
Right.
So throughout time, you just, I guess, learn.
Yeah. That's socially as well. Like we're talking about work, but the image you're portraying to your friends is also kind of what you would bring up in a conversation with people. But it's just on a new platform. So like there's always been an image that you want to portray, but now it's online. So it kind of puts gets people to think about it in a different way, but is it really different, right?
Yeah.
You're portraying an image to people, but I guess you've got, it can take as much time as you want to think about what all like your different circles of friends are going to think about what you post. But the opposite of that, I think, if you're portraying a certain image in person, you can portray a different image for every single group of your friends, right? Circle. So there's
you could, but it's way harder, and I think it's a very interesting point that you're bringing. Is that and even in actual conversations, you do still create some sort of a persona. You aren't like yourself, because I still don't know what I am, so
right.
Like I can't really come up to someone and say, hey, this is me, this is what I do, this is, who I am, this is what I want to be. And because we just realize that some of the things, some of the thoughts that we have aren't usually the best thoughts. So maybe tomorrow I'll be thinking completely differently, Maybe tomorrow I'll have like way different ideas than I had today. But that doesn't mean that my ideas today are wrong. It's just that they're like, currently, to the best of my knowledge, they are right for me. Like, but tomorrow I'll be probably just looking back and thinking, oh man, that's very different. So like, so I think there's this issue then with social media, is where you start realizing that the posts that you made years ago are impacting you. And I mean, unless you actually, when you think about it, right, like if you're not going to be a politician, or if you're not really aiming to be a public persona, you're not, even with like public personas, right, with some sort of stars or whatever, media digs out something, but these things just become old very fast.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my god, did you know that X said A, like, I don't know, friggin' 7 years ago or something, and then everyone's like, oh my god, how dare you, how this happens? Like, yo, why are we talking about this? This was like 7 years ago. If you're not smart enough to understand that people change their opinions,
that's like, a good point.
Whoa.
It's like, for me, I couldn't give less shits about the stuff I hear. Right, sometimes like 7 years ago somebody said, or 10 years ago somebody said this. It's like, that's pretty irrelevant, mate. It's a different person now.
Exactly.
And
but what you can see is you can see where the person has come from, and you can sort of even use this for the advantage of the person, because like you can compare to what the person thought and what the person thinks now, and if you see improvement, then
Yep.
you know that the person is like legit. It's like woke, thinking, not just I don't know,
Mhm.
close-minded, keeps blowing the same trumpet and stuff. So
Yeah. I think what's interesting is when you get public figures that when they get caught out on something that they've done, like let's say with the Me Too movement with Louis C.K., right? You know about that?
no, not too much. No.
Oh, happened a while ago, right? So it was the comedian Louis C.K. Like years back, apparently he was like masturbating in front of his colleagues with their consent, and then so this was like when the Me Too movement was like really big.
Mm-hmm.
You know of the Me Too movement,
Yeah,
though. That was like when it was really big, so they were really just going after a lot of celebrities. And what he did is kind of weird. This is just my opinion on it. Like what he did is kind of weird, but like he had the consent to do it, and so their argument was that he was using his like kind of power as some like as a as a powerful figure within the comedy industry.
Mm-hmm.
And so they kind of like the consent was just like because of the power that he had, and there's a lot of arguments around that. Where were we coming from? I forgot.
We're talking about.
Because yeah, I had to explain the whole concept and I forgot. Go on. Oh yeah, like things people said a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what happens is, and this is a case where I don't. Yeah, so he just kind of like I can't remember if he actually came up and I think yeah he apologized for it. He was like, yeah, I did this wrong thing. This was wrong and all. And then you have to think about whether he actually believes that what he did was wrong, or if he's just saying this for his for the sake of his public image. No, to save face. I don't personally think he should have went and apologized as he did. I mean, he could have went out and said what he did was kind of weird. I think he probably thinks that now as well. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't personally think he had a lot to apologize for. I don't know all the ins and outs, and media can speculate and only work with the information that they have.
Yeah.
But yeah, from the reading around the subject that I did, it wasn't really. It was just pretty weird. It wasn't necessarily like sexual harassment or anything.
But the person still went out and apologized for it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was and like when the Me Too movement was blowing up. So he really got caught out in that.
Probably he had an advice from someone, or maybe like agent or whatever, which is like say, "Yo, I think you should take this move and like do it because like technically try and clear out your public image." But
yeah. So yeah, like you have to see, especially with public figures, how much of it is, I'm a good person now, versus like if you consider something they did 10 years ago to be a bad thing, but now they're a public figure, so they have to act as if they're a different person, that they're actually a good person, because you can only change so much in terms of your values. And like if you've always been an evil person at say, and at 20 or 30 you're still an evil person, 10 years later, just because you're portraying a different figure online, or pretending to be a good person, or portraying a good persona online, can we say that you've actually changed in that time?
Yeah, that's a good one.
So I guess if somebody said something on as a kid online, and then years later somebody brings it up, it's like, yeah, they were a kid when they said it. So it's pretty.
Yeah, and as long as you don't start and getting all defensive and maybe like, I don't know, there is the correct, like there has to be a correct way of handling it. Like, if someone's trying to like throw it at you, you'll just like, it's like in that interview with Robert Downey Jr. and it was a nasty interview. The guy was just like always trying to come at his past, just like sort of always steering towards this. Oh, so what about drugs and this and that and dark past? And then so Robert Downey Jr. would just like sort of says, oh yeah, past is past, and sort of like, so what are we doing here? Are we promoting the movie, or like, so he throws
Yeah.
these sort of like triggers, like it shows that, yo, I see what you're doing, and then he just, when he was hit with another question, he just looked around like, yeah, bye, and just walked away, because like there's not very, like, you can't have a productive conversation with a person who's trying to attack you and is not having any sort of understanding or anything. Like, it's just stupid. The person's stupid. Like, you can just straight up say that. Like, sure, you're trying to dig, if you're a journalist, you're trying to dig your whatever.
Yeah.
What does it achieve?
Mhm.
It's just useless, dude. Like, I don't know. So also thinking back about that, the thing you mentioned, like Harvey Weinstein, what about that?
Oh, that.
Just also that comes in mind, and like,
Yeah, I've actually not really read on that topic or on that subject too much, or really invested in much time into that. But his thing was like, I think, more serious than what I just mentioned, right?
yeah, so this is just technically like he's been charged with rape and everything, and like Me Too movement and women coming out saying, "Oh yeah, I've had intercourse with this person," but there's some other woman coming out and saying, "Yes, I did, but I basically got to where I am now because of it." It's like
Yep.
he he did. So he's like an American film producer. That's what his description says, and like
Mhm.
he basically had sex with women and got them into films. But the thing is, it's an easy deal.
Right.
It's
For
like,
the women. Yeah.
yeah, it's like I can put you in the movies, I can make you a star, but you have to do this.
Right.
And so
what, they called that rape, or was there actual?
well, they're saying it's abuse of power and everything.
Right. So that's the same thing that with Louis C.K. that they were saying that, yeah.
Yeah, well, sort of. But the thing is,
because
so
he would give him some opportunity.
yeah, but the thing is, dude, I disagree with that. Like, I think it's,
Yeah.
I think you're, first of all, you're free to walk out. I don't think he has put handcuffs on you and said, "I'm gonna kill your career if you don't do this and that." It's not harassment. Right. This is like, literally, you're nothing right now in terms of Hollywood, in terms of everything. If you want to be a star, you have to do this. And it's just like, no one forces you to do that.
Yeah, well,
if you have dignity and everything, just leave, And then now they're like, "Oh yeah, so I'm a star, but I did this," and it's like, yeah, I mean, it's up to you. The choice is yours. As much as this is not like the most, probably clean way of getting in. Well,
the side of it that I heard was that their career actually would be at risk if they refused. That's the side I heard. So,
oh well.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, we're just
yeah, it is a very, like, you can speculate a lot, and
yeah,
no one, I don't think anyone actually knows the true story apart from the person himself. And as much as news articles and news just blasting and broadcasting everything,
what's scary, right, about all of that is it's usually, well, with the Me Too movement, all of these things were being dug up from years ago, right?
Yeah.
There's a psychology podcast that I listened to, and it was an episode on memories, right? So basically, with memories, we kind of reconstruct them. They're not like a file on a computer that we pick and it's all perfect. And so we don't exactly remember what happened, and what can influence our memories is the way we're kind of being asked about them. So people can influence how you remember things happened very easily. So the whole Me Too movement and the light that's shedding on some of these things kind of makes, I suppose, women, but I think there's been men on also come up, kind of look back at something that happened in the past that was slightly relevant to what's being talked about, and kind of view it in a more negative light than necessary, or that it necessarily happened.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Like, even if you did something that you're, I don't know, it depends on what people you talk to, if you have a company of friends, a group of friends, and I don't know, they smoke weed and they do drugs, and then you have done drugs in the past, and you think that this is not the proudest moment of mine, but then you start like engaging with this group of friends and start realizing that apparently this is like a thing that they do around themselves. So then you sort of change the way you look at it. because of the influence, like external influence from the people around you. So even the way you look at it changes.
Yeah.
Depending on what other people say.
Yep.
Like things that you may think are embarrassing or whatever, there's many things, there's many situations. I don't even want to like start naming them, but like
Yeah.
you can think about many examples of where this could apply, but could be applied. This was a very like weird example about all the like drugs and stuff, but it just makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
if your friends influence you, so
yeah, people can't necessarily make you remember something that didn't happen. Potentially they could, but it's a lot easier to make somebody remember something differently from how it actually happened.
And especially with this reminiscence bias, where we think we always find our past to be way better than it is now, or way better than the future. Just sort of
or worse. I mean, actually depends on the person.
Depends on the person,
yes.
On the
situation, not just the person, mostly on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're doing good now, you might look at your past and being like, I wasn't going well. If you're think you're doing good now, you're thinking of that comparatively to something which is your past. So
yeah, possibly.
Yeah. So and that could be tangible, but it's an interesting topic, this, so psychologically.
Yeah, it was our brains. Well, I always think back to my high school as the golden days, and like
right,
feels like I had such little problems there, so little trouble. Like it's just all these grades, marks, homework. Dude, it was so easy back then. And now you think about uni work, you think about stuff that we're gonna have to do, and like, damn, you just start feeling like, wow, these years were easy. But then when you actually think about it, during those years when our mindset was completely different.
Yep.
Those problems were everything to us. Like, wow, they're so huge and large, and like, there's this notion of always progressing further, and always feeling that your past is better, or your past was easier than now, or I was living then, like, what these were the days. Or so and I think it's also because of the thing you mentioned is that you sort of forget how it all actually was. Like maybe you were bullied in high school. What about that? And it's just like realizing that, oh wait, actually, I did. It's just like I don't really remember that now. And maybe these were like bad days for you. So it's a thing like that, and
and it's all that makes us the creatures that we are. So
also dreams. I've heard dreams can mess up your memories, and like especially lucid dreams, or some dreams where your brain's like very active, and then you just wake up thinking like, damn, that's a weird dream. And then you like 5-10 years down the road, you remember that and think, oh wait, I remember this moment, but I don't remember if it was a dream or not. It's like, I was chasing a dragon. Part. Yeah, it's like I was chasing a dragon, and like, wait, was I? And then you start realizing, oh, maybe this must have been a dream. So
that's funny, but especially with things that you can't really like, that are not obviously not real, right?
Yeah, maybe you were reliving some sort of a memory during that dream, but then you were reliving that memory a bit differently in that dream. So then imagine what happens to that memory, which is in your mind like 10 years after.
Yeah,
it's way different.
It's really funny though. We started this podcast about people putting controversial things and their employers seeing that, and then we go and speak about such controversial topics.
Controversy's good, juicy. Give me some juicy controversy.
But
we need to talk about things. So I decided that our podcast should be something where we should not have too many taboos, I guess, or just we should be able to use the free speech thing for good, obviously, and allow conversation. So we don't like, I'm not an expert in most of the things I talk about here. I'm not trying to be, and I'm, with all humility and all due respect to the experts, I'm putting it out there. I'm here to create a gateway for people to speak, for people to think, maybe entertain some of these ideas, maybe someone may not have heard something like that before, like some little idea that just pops in, and maybe it'll lead to something, maybe someone becomes a philosopher or something. I don't know. Like, inspiring change with simple conversations.
Mhm.
That's what I think has to be done, because if you're able to converse and come up with a solution to a problem, it's like the way I always thought about, and like, it is a very stupid thought, but it's like me as a kid being like, if there is ever war, first people that should be killed are the diplomats and politicians.
Right.
Because it's their job to ensure that there's no war. It's their job to sit there and freaking speak, talk, chat, and solve everything with their brains, because they're getting paid to speak, to talk, to think, that's their job. And like, as much as this sounds stupid, and as much as this may be like a weird, again, controversy, but I think that idea holds, and like, we should use conversation as a tool to solve problems.
Yeah.
Make conversation, not war.
That's
a quote for the end.
Yeah, okay. Just looking out the window, the sky's really beautiful right now.
My curtains are always closed. Guess it's the right time for me to go open them up and see what the world's been about. I think that's the time we had today. I really liked this conversation, so we sort of managed to stay on topic a bit more.
Yeah, that was
getting
good.
better. It's getting bigger, yeah. Podcast is slowly getting better,
It's quite smooth.
Smooth flowing. Yeah, I guess I have to just repeat the same words that I said. Make conversation, not war.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Thank you everyone for listening, and see y'all later.
See you.